I really want to focus on with my next panel here is the evolution of the smart factory, because sometimes I feel we're still just seeing it at that very high level, and I really want to dig down a little bit deeper as to who is driving that evolution to what we then define ultimately as a smart factory. So with me, I've got from the ASIS Group, Jürgen Gries, directly to my left. Welcome Mr. Kondo from Fuji to the panel as well, and of course, Robert Huber from Mentor Graphics. Great to have you here. Smart factory, as I said, everybody knows about it, everybody's talking about it. Let's go straight in there. Who's driving it?
Well, talking about the customers, for sure driving it. Because I'm in charge for the ASIS business in China, if I look back 3 years ago on an exhibition, you see a lot of machine vendors, not so much software or smart factory yet. 2 years ago, suddenly you see everywhere Industry 4.0 signs, somebody shows some software. So what's happening, the customers are pushing for it. They want to get efficiencies up, or costs down, come with more questions, and for sure all the vendors of us, the machines, the software, picking this up. And it's every industry. We are serving electronic, solar, semiconductor. It's the same story, You get, it's coming up. You start with the machine, material management suddenly is the next topic, and that's what you're seeing popping up here. More and more of these things coming up. Everybody has to show it. And what I see is now more software companies also stepping into, because before you only saw machine vendors. Now suddenly big software vendors also coming up to exhibitions like this one and try to show something. So top down, bottom up, but at the end of the day, it's the customer driving it.
Yeah. Okay, interesting actually to see. So you're saying it started out on the machine level, and then the software people came in. I'll just skip you and go straight to the software. Is that true? And then I'll go straight into the machine. But actually, would you agree that it was the machines first, then the software?
Okay. I don't think you can really separate all this, because when you look into these machines, a lot of the smart solutions they provide are driven by software, machine software, and so on. So software has always provided good solutions for smart manufacturing. But what I would like to differentiate a little bit, what we've seen so far are smart solutions for a local problem. You need, when you talk about a smart factory, take it much more holistically and not just to a pinpoint of one area, let's say make a printer a little smarter or make this one a little smarter. It's the whole product. So when we talk about Siemens and Mentor, we're one company now, we always have the vision of the digital twin, where you actually simulate the whole product in a virtual environment, understanding can this be produced, what is the failure rate, can the heat flow correctly, and so on. So you're designing already smart products for a smart factory. You're going next to the digital twin of the process, where you then merge the product that you designed with the process equipment you have. Is this manufacturability? What's the fail out, and so on. And later on you go to the digital twin of the production, where you then actually validate what have you actually received and feed it back to either design or the process. And only when you bring this all together, for me, it becomes a smart factory. Yes, we need machines to support this. We are all connected. If you don't connect the machine, you don't have the information. But ultimately, I think it's primarily driven by software. It's my view.
Yeah, the data comes out of the machines. So the brain cells are in the machines. So is the brain the machine?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, and nowadays the customer has the clear structure of the system, and always data is coming from the machines, and the target and how to say, the difficulty is how those kind of data needs to be handled, how we can handle those data for a proper way. And I think the driver for implementing the Smart Factory 4.0 is the customer, our customer, who is interested in the clear target of return of investment. And also our customer who is interested in logistic part and increasing the quality. And for us, now we are showing the machine-to-machine communication. And those kind of communication, we can increase the quality. And also, if we provide some information to the warehouse, with the right timing, component can be checked out from the warehouse and delivered to the production floor. So those kind of the high efficiency gives a lot of high return investment. And this is a kind of for me, the driver will be our customer.
The customer, and that's what you said, Mr. Rees, as well. It's primarily the customer, and you have to now work together on all levels to enable the customer need. And on that point, therefore, cooperation, and we talk about it a lot with the smart factory, we all now have to be talking to each other because we're sharing data, we're analyzing data. How is that being handled? What are the challenges we're facing on that level to achieve what the customer wants?
Well, for me, the interesting point is looking back 2 to 3 years ago, smart factory was mostly getting MES data out. So you get a machine and they go up in a system above. Then what Robert was mentioning, like you want to support actually more the process side, like in digital twin. It's now the other way around. Smart factory is not just getting data out. It's also what you can do then on improve on the machine level in the process side. So we have now more discussion from software companies which handling overall data coming down back to the machine side and how we can use the data we get out of the machine and improve a process on the machine. That's now the interesting part because now we have much more discussion, not just squeezing data out of a machine, but what to do with them, So where's the intelligence coming from, how to apply it in a machine, and this forces us actually much more work together with different partners because in a line, it is not just from one vendor. So for me, I'm deeply convinced open platform is what you have to have because it's nice if you have a great software, works with your machine, but 10 other machines in the line. So that's what I see now. It's going up and goes down, and it's much more interfacing now involved.
Cooperation is a key word.
Yeah, I would agree with Jürgen, and maybe that wasn't clear before. He's absolutely right. The information flow is bi-directional. We need all the data to analyze and so on, but we also need to feed it back so the machines can make smart decisions. They have the intelligence today. They have all computers and software-driven understanding. They may do closed-loop corrections and so on. You cannot run everything through a main system and have delays and so on until it's analyzed. So you need certain actions need to happen at the machine itself with a short response time. Absolutely correct. But at the same time, the design that is driven into it has a huge impact. Let me give an understanding. If you take a boat into manufacturing and you do some test coverage, you come up with a test strategy, you don't have enough test points, for instance, you try to make the best out of it. You can innovate a machine and say, maybe I get 5% more test coverage. But if you bring this problem back, let's say to the schematics level, and say, okay, now I give information in the schematics level, how many test points you need and where you need them to achieve this test coverage with this test strategy, you design the boat in the layout then accordingly, and you bring it out. And then all of a sudden you have a much better test coverage where all the machines have actually a chance to really perform at a high level. So you cannot just look at it in isolation. I think that's my point, what I wanted to make. A smart factory has to look at it as a whole flow and not just as one point solution.
I think the interesting point for us now as machine vendor is the customer is driving it, but very often they have not a clear idea what to do, And now we as machine vendors are much more forced now to think about it. What can we do with the data to improve a process, Where a customer is not so clear about what the machine can do, but we know, So before it was easy. We sent information somewhere and this was more or less the job is done. Now it's the other way around, and now we spend much more efforts in software and process side ideas, how to improve things automatically, That's now also a challenge for us.
And depending on the system company and depending on the customer who has a good IT department, they have a clear strategy of the smart factory solution, and they have a clear the tool for the smart factory. But on the other hand, there is not any unified standard yet. So this is one of the target which we are trying to work.
Yeah, I mean, standards is a whole big new discussion as well. And we're also, again, running out of time, and I do want to open up to the floor for some questions. But just to wrap up, as if I look at what we've named this discussion, like leading the smart factory evolution, from what I'm hearing is that the leader is the customer. Everybody
Ultimately.
here is the enabler, the doers, the thinkers behind it, and we all have to work collaboratively to give the leaders what they want. On that note, I'll directly open up to the show floor. So if anybody has any questions to my panel, just raise up your hand and I'll come over with a microphone. Is there anybody?